I've been seeing this word gooner way more and more frequently, and it seems to be becoming a bit of a platitude that is going to be worth addressing for everybody, but especially the men with full sacks. We have to see that we are enemy number one to the Gooners. Now, if you're operating on multiple planes of consciousness simultaneously, then you know that you don't really need to acknowledge good and evil when it comes to timelessness. And the Regal Change old timers will be familiar enough with my Regal timeline theory to understand, as I say, that when you're operating on those different planes of consciousness, you don't need to pay attention to the noise. You don't necessarily need to pay attention to anything. All that you need to do is invest attention into who you want to be embodying or becoming. And when you invest attention into embodying who you want to be, then you're going to be able to maneuver in life in such a way that the probability of maximizing all of these fantastic things in your life is going to naturally increase. And step number one with that is going to be having a full sack. Having a full sack, now I'm not saying that you shouldn't be attracted to women, or that you shouldn't, if you want to talk to women, you shouldn't talk to women. What I'm saying is that the full sack is more than just a full sack. It's a philosophy of life. And it's a philosophy of no philosophy, because you're so full that you're just overflowing in all different ways all the time. And there's going to be a war between the Gooners and the men with full sacks online. I mean, there already kind of is. But the thing that we with men with full sacks have to recognize is that we're all kind of Gooners in some way. We're all gooning about something. We all have our vices. We all have a vice of some kind. And I've talked about this in my book, the Book of Oldishness, where I call it the circle of vice and virtue. So vice can actually be not on a linear scale. Vice and virtue are not linear. Okay, they're a circle. They're eternal with one another. And I know this because I had a vision with my vice. This is going to be toward the end of my book, because I have all the documented visions in my book, and then the philosophical and psychological interpretations of the book, inside it. But what's most important is, wow, the wind's kind of picking up for just a second. Hopefully I don't want to say hopefully, it will die down in a second. I've been watching what I say more, specifically when it comes to hopefully. Ugh. Hopefully it'll do this. Hopefully. Ugh. Ugh. I don't want to hope anymore. I just want to, it either is or it isn't. And that's it. There is no in between. There's no hopefully. There's nothing wrong with hope, don't get me wrong, but there's a point with what I'm saying. So anyway, in my vision, I talk with my vice, and my vice says that we are eternal brothers. And at the time, I didn't really understand what he meant, because he had just destroyed, by looking at Jiminy Cricket, who was in this vision, he just destroyed Jiminy Cricket, like just with one look of his eyes. And I said, "What'd you do that for, my vice? What did you do that for? You just burned somebody alive for no reason." And he really didn't say too much apart from, you have to get used to this. This is, you think that your conscience is there to help you, but sometimes it's going to hurt you. And this really reminded me of something that Friedrich Nietzsche talks a lot about, which is, well, he doesn't talk a lot about it, but in his book, Beyond Good and Evil, he talked about how essentially the conscience can be a tyrant. Okay, so this is where Gooners come into play. Their conscience, or rather their lack thereof, is their vice. Now, with men with full sacks, sometimes our vice can be listening to our conscience so much. We're going to be so focused on the discipline that we're doing discipline for discipline's sake, and we're not seeing the divinity of the Gooner. Okay, because there is a sense of divinity that the Gooner has that we just don't always want to recognize, because, geez Louise, there's like some bug on my back. There it is. So there is a divinity in the gooner, okay? Because the gooner isn't them. The gooner is us. Okay, we're part of the gooner. We're all one being. We're all experiencing this common life together for a certain reason. And whether or not we truly know what we're here to do is yet to be discerned sometimes. Like, you just have to live it to your best moment to moment. And just do your best. And we men with full sacks have to see that the Gooners are doing the best that they can. The Gooners are doing the best that they can. There's no reason that the Gooner ought to be ostracized or neglected, because the soul of existence, God, is inclusive. The soul of existence is not exclusive. The soul of existence is inclusive. And what I've noticed is that there's a lot of people who want to perceive themselves to be better than others. Well, holy smokes. I just saw the squirrel like running across the little from tree to tree branch, over here. But the squirrels are back, baby. The Regal Change old timers know what I'm talking about. The squirrels are back. They followed us, man. They followed us. We got a cameo. But anyway, the Gooner divinity is there. So the thing is that we have to accept these Gooners for who they truly are. And that's difficult if you don't know how to accept yourself. It's only difficult when you have preferences and you have likes and dislikes and such. This is like there's a great Chinese proverb. It says, it's a curse to be born in an interesting time. Now that's really something to think about, because it's implying that if you're not born in an interesting time, then you're blessed, right? Like it's just a blessing. But if you are born in an interesting time, well, then there's so many interesting things to do and talk about. And I think that this is one of those times. I mean, it's always one of those times, but you get the point, right? You get the point here. At least the people who are on the godlike mastery path and the regal narrative timeline are completely understanding what I'm saying here. And in fact, if you are understanding what I'm saying here, write regal timeline narrative or regal narrative timeline in the comment section, because that's going to propel you for the regal narrative structures that you want to actually have happen in your life. So anyway, seeing the divinity of the Gooner is going to be the key antidote here, because we do live in such an interesting time. I mean, we have corn available at all times, and unless people speak about it to me anymore, I just forget. Like, I forget that it's even a thing, or I forget that there's so many women on Bonely cans, I forget that there's so many men that are depleted coomers worshiping the Pink Palace, because I live in such a sovereign timeline into timelessness that, like, I'm just living in me. Like, I'm living with me, in me, with you. Like, that's all that there is anyway. So my investment of attention is not directed toward these unnecessary sufferings, but I do recognize that they exist, and I don't try to just shove it under the rug. I absolutely see that there's truth in them and there's truth there, but I'm not attached to the truth of the unnecessary suffering, because the unnecessary suffering is not true. But it's a real truth that the unnecessary suffering exists, but it's not a truthful real that the narrative structure of the victim mindset is actually true. Do you see what I'm saying here? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, again, regal narrative timeline, comment section. If you understand what I'm saying, write that down, because I am curious to see how many people this is actually resonating with. I mean, if it wouldn't be resonating, I guess I would know. But since it is resonating, and I'm reshaping the narrative timeline in real and true time, I suppose that's what's going to happen. But You see, to be a man with a full sack, happens that you must have humility, but you also must be confident in your godlikeness. So as a practitioner of godlike mastery and as someone who offers godlike mastery to people, I don't focus on the, like, it took me a long time to accept that this is how the incarnation, you might say, wants to express itself through me. I didn't want that because I felt like it would be too much responsibility. I felt like, I don't know if I could actually do that. I don't know if I could actually be godlike. I don't know if I could actually do that. But over the past few years, and just really embodying what it means to be a godlike master and not being attached to the role of being a godlike master, that's where things have really changed. And so operating from a place of timelessness, knowing that I'm not infallible, but I am completely and utterly at peace and in one with myself. Because I have myself, and I love myself, and I embrace myself. I know I am lovable. I know that I am a signal for sovereignty, and I am its source. I know that I am invisible to scarcity, and scarcity is invisible to me. I know that these are thought algorithms that I've implemented into myself so long and in so many ways, because here's the thing about lust that really, like, once you conquer lust, I'm getting really excited here. I don't know why. I'm just getting really pumped up, bro. It's like, once you realize what conquering lust really means, it means to just let go of trying to conquer it. It means abundance is something that you be. It's not something that you have. Gooners and coomers think that you're supposed to be thinking a certain way, or you're supposed to act a certain way, or be a certain way, live a certain way. It's not like that, and that's why they're gooners. But men with full sacks, we don't have to be so focused on trying to be something. We can just be the thing. We can embody truth we can embody our vices even without being attached to the vice. So acknowledge it, but don't be attached to it. Don't get hung up on trying to be someone or something, so much so that you degrade others because you start to see yourself as someone. I'm someone, and people tell me I'm someone, so I must be someone. It's funny. It is a funny thing. But what I'm really wanting to aim at here is that live with compassion, but don't be attached to the compassion to the gooners either. Like, recognize that some gooners are going to choose to be gooners, man. They're gooners because they chose that. It's like a lot of people stuck in life. You're not stuck. It's like spiritual warfare. You didn't choose or you're not stuck in spiritual warfare. You chose spiritual warfare because that's what you're choosing to place your attention on and your focus on. Like, I've had, it's amazing, it's so amazing. Like, in the past, there were calls that I've had in one-on-one sessions, or not really so much in the Godlike Mastery offer, but in one-on-one sessions or the Regal Academy, and we have this super uplifting, powerful frequency going on, and then, like, they send me stuff through DMs, or they talk about certain things next time that just, like, have nothing to do with what we just talked about. Like, they're going back to the worldly things, lickety split. And you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, like, what the did you listen? Like, because while you were there, it seemed like you were listening, but then you just went off and did these things. I mean, are you actually doing these things? Are you actually? And this is where I have to check myself as well. Like, okay, am I actually embodying what I am educating people on? Because I am not the educator. I'm not the master. I am the education. I'm the mastering quality. All right. So this is where we have to have some sense of self-awareness with Gooners as men with full sacks. But it's not a war. It's not really a war, but it's going to be, if you think that that's going to be the case. You don't have to live that way on that plane of consciousness. You just don't. But I hope that this message was useful and insightful for you. I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace. Until next time.